is not just a storage tank, it's a liquefaction plant as well. And it will be converting 8,000 decatherms per day from the pipeline to LNG, which involves a cleaning process before they drop the temperature on. So, you know, the promise is that whatever gets cleaned out of the gas off the pipeline will just be injected back into the pipeline, but that hasn't been laid out. I hope the SEC will look closely at that, but people are looking at more than just a storage tank. The second thing I want to mention is that this is supposedly not an electricity project. I keep hearing people conflate the savings from the Granite Bridge project with reduced electricity costs. This project is going to be paid by Liberty gas ratepayers who are essentially heating their homes. So it's a little disturbing to hear that. And add to that, you know, there's also the claim that by switching people from heating oil to natural gas, that will be helping the environment. So that I tried to figure it out, and let's say that they have 80,000 residential customers today. Because they're doubling their capacity with Granite Bridge, they could serve another 80,000 customers. But to do that, the $340 million for Granite Bridge is not enough. That doesn't cover all of it. They would also have to build out at least half the cost of their current distribution infrastructure. So you're looking at another $250 million for building out the infrastructure to reach those 80,000 homes. And on top of that, each one of those 80,000 homes would have to install a gas furnace or a gas boiler, probably in the $5,000 to $7,000 range. So I added up all those numbers and I get to something like $1.2 billion. And then I started dividing that by how much would it cost to weatherize, how many homes could you weatherize with $1.2 billion at $6,000 per home? And I came up with over $200,000, over 200,000 homes. I did a similar analysis for how about if you went to a heat pump? Yes. And so the point is that the total residential reduction in carbon emissions would only be like 4% of just that residential part if you did 80,000 homes. Whereas weatherization was more like 9, and heat pumps was at least 16. Unfortunately, climate and environmental impacts are not confined to an infrastructure corridor. We're looking at climate change right now. We have 2 years to turn things around, 12 years total before we hit the most dire impacts. And, you know, saying that you have an infrastructure corridor means nothing when we're dealing with the climate as a whole. So how do we defend ourselves? Because the game seems to be rigged on the side of, you know, we've got to welcome more industry, we've got to welcome more business, you know, the red carpet is always rolled out. In Epping in particular, I say that there's an issue of environmental justice here. They're already facing this tens of millions of dollars in trying to remedy their water situation. And that's exactly the kind of community where projects like these are cited. These big noxious projects. Where do they go? They go to low income, communities of color, or communities that are facing a real disadvantage. Normally, I would not be in support of a bill like this because, as many people have said, you know, it could be used to oppose a wind project, or it could be used to oppose a solar project. However, I feel like the situation is so dire at this point that, you know, in terms of climate change, that we almost have no recourse. And I'm gonna give you two examples. In Rindge, when the Med pipeline was going through, very conservative town, promised lots of tax revenue by the company if they would, kind of go along. The people of Rindge did warrant articles, much like the one that is proposed, and they voted 3-1 to oppose any gas infrastructure. It had no it wasn't gonna have any binding consequences, but it was an expression of how the people felt about it. And they were joined by 17 towns along the route. On the other side, on the flip side, is Antrim. And Antrim, I think it was 2012, might have been 2013, they had a warrant article that was designed to oppose the Antrim wind project. And the people of Antrim voted that down. They supported the wind project. Despite that, the opponents, the anti-wind group, continued to this day with lawsuits and fought that the Antrim wind project is just under construction now. So, just having people vote for something doesn't stop the chaos and the uncertainty about whether or not a project gets built, because if you have a small group of determined people, right, nothing can stop them. And so I just wanted to say, I feel normally I would not support such a bill, but under these circumstances, with the dire situation we find ourselves in terms of climate change, and knowing how these things can drag on, in this case, I do stand in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Representative Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming to testify. My understanding is, with regard to natural gas, my understanding is, from the utilities perspective, which I'm told, is that they see that because we use natural gas also to generate electricity in the state, especially in the winter, there is a constriction of the supply in the winter time, making natural gas prices go up. And their logic about this project is we'd like to be able to purchase liquid natural gas or natural gas in the summertime when prices are low. We'd like to be able to store them so we have adequate supply in the winter for both the electric needs and the heating needs. That makes sense to me. It seems like it's not just about heating.
So
Okay. Go ahead.
if I may, so first of all, my understanding is that for the heating customers, most of that gas is already contracted for ahead of time. There is a small amount that they don't buy ahead of time because they don't want to carry the burden of it in case they don't use it. It's only the electric utilities, as far as my understanding goes, that purchases on the spot market and could really take advantage of this LNG thing. But that raises the question of why are Liberty heating customers then paying for this entire project?
Representative Kelly?
Welcome back to the committee. I'm an old friend. I just want everybody, or my understanding, and then I want my head shaped, that we are not voting on this project, whether it's good or bad. We are just voting on, or will vote on, the process. It has nothing to do with whether gas is good or whether gas is not. I just wonder if people understand that. We've been through this, you know that, we've been through this for years. It has nothing to do with this bill, whether it has merit or it doesn't have merit. It's only whether we want the towns to have home rule. That's what this is about. And I just want you to understand that and I didn't I guess I don't understand, to me it sounded like you were opposing and all of a sudden you said I'm for it because of all the conservation. So but that has nothing to do with it, it's the home rule that we're looking at.
May I respond?
You may.
The reason I brought up these things is because they were brought up by other speakers, you know, really trying to sell how beneficial this is. And I just wanted to address the points that were made so that people see the other side of this. But, you know, there is an environmental justice factor. The community's least able to defend themselves, least able to come up with the money to hire attorneys to intervene at the Public Utilities Commission or to represent them before the Site Evaluation Committee are often the towns where these projects are cited, because it's known. I mean, I recognize there's also a quarry in Epping that makes it somewhat convenient. But I also think it's equally convenient that this town is facing a crisis with its water supply, and that, you know, basically with all the you know, when a project is so good, why do you have to spend so much money marketing it and advertising it? Why do you have to get so many interveners like chambers of commerce and unions and all these people coming in to sell the project if it's so good? And I just feel like, yeah, normally I would think this was not really a great idea. But having seen what I did in Antrim, where even though, you know, people made what I thought was the right vote, you know, supporting the wind project, it still dragged on for years because that wasn't enough. The people who were the opponents continued to sue and to challenge it. So, you know, I don't know what the disposition should be, but I know that there's questions of environmental justice here, not just for the people of Epping, but for everybody else in the state who's impacted by climate change, and that's all of us. And the fact that Liberty is offering the people of Epping $7 million a year in tax revenue to start, and $100 million over the course of the project is like a bribe, and hard for them to turn down when they're facing such a difficult situation. But the next thing we know, just like with the Eversource case in Bow, the next thing we know, if this market does collapse, as Representative Benson talked about, when the other things come along, and there's plenty of information out there about how the global LNG market is about to collapse as of 2030, you know, they may never see that kind of tax revenue. You know, the project will be cited there, noxious or not, and then they won't get their money either. So I have a lot of concerns, and you know, I think it's kind of maybe a silver bullet. You know, I have great admiration for Dudley and the work she did to stop that. And if that's what it takes, I think this needs to be stopped. Thank you.
Okay.